Seasickness. Let's talk about it. I've been planning cruise vacations for my clients for the last 4 years, but I've never cruised myself. That's changing in November when I sail on Utopia of the Seas, and seasickness is a worry for me too. But let's dive into some statistics, see what seasickness is, what cruise lines do to help prevent cruise passengers from being seasick, and what you can do as a cruise passenger to reduce your risk of seasickness. First of all, what is seasickness? How does it happen? It is a disconnect between what your brain is seeing and what your ears are feeling. So say you're in the inside of the ship, maybe eating pizza at Sorrento's, and the ship is rocking side to side. Well, your body and ears can feel that motion, but your eyes cannot see where that motion's coming from. And boom, you could get nauseous. How common is seasickness? Statistically, about 10 to 25% of cruise passengers experience significant seasickness while on board a modern cruise ship. Now that number could be high, I get that, but let's dive a little deeper. On calm itineraries like short Bahamian and Caribbean cruises, those seasickness numbers drop to single-digit percentages. All the numbers aren't published fleet-wide, but know that doctors on board the ships report that less than 10% of the cruise passengers seek medical attention for seasickness on any given sailing. Also, statistics show that cruise passengers adapt to the ship's movement and feel better within 24 to 48 hours. Of course, none of us want to be sick on this vacation we've spent all this money on, so what do cruise lines do to help prevent their cruise passengers from getting seasick? I know if you've ever considered cruising before, you've either talked to a friend or done your own research, and everywhere you see stabilizers. These ships have stabilizers. What are they? They're active fin stabilizers that are underwater, under the cruise ship, obviously if they're underwater, and they, in these modern cruise ships, know how to position themselves to counteract movement, and they usually do this automatically. Now, stabilizers only help with side-to-side motion. They're not going to help with bow-to-stern motion. And if the seas are extra specially rough, stabilizers are going to do very little to help the motion. So that brings me to my next thing cruise lines do. They reroute if they need to. If they see a storm, like just recently, Hurricane Erin was coming up through the Caribbean, and a lot of cruise lines changed itineraries to avoid the hurricane. Cruise lines will really do everything in their power to avoid rough seas. Again, they do not want you to be sick on the cruise. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck in your room, you're not going to be spending money, you're not going to be enjoying, you're going to have a negative perception, and you're going to go home and tell all of your friends and family how sick you were, and that's going to deter other people from wanting to sail. Also, these newer ships that are coming out have a lower center of gravity, which means they just rock less than the older ships. Now, if you're picturing, say, the Oasis class or Icon class of Royal Caribbean, they're wide girlies. They are just not going to move as much as a smaller ship, say like Disney Magic. So you're going to want to position yourself to go on these sailings that typically have calmer seas. Now, the number one cruise destination is the Caribbean, so we'll start there. The best time of year to cruise the Caribbean, not just for calmer seas, but better weather, is actually December through April. Over in the Mediterranean, you're looking late spring, early fall. So it's going to be March through May or September through November. Up in Alaska, there's a little bit of a difference here. Your itinerary is going to make the most impact on if you're going to see rougher seas. So that's going to take a little extra research. But generally speaking, you want to go between May and July. You've picked the cruise that's going to leave during typical calmer seas. Now, where should your stateroom be located on the ship? And I, just like pretty much anyone else out there, is going to tell you to try to pick a midship cabin on a lower deck. However, I need to tell you that doesn't always guarantee that you will not feel seasickness. I don't want you to have a false sense of confidence that you will not get seasick because you're in a midship cabin on a lower deck. That's just not true. It really may not matter if you are prone to seasickness where your cabin is located. Now that brings me to my final tips. You're probably going to want to be prepared that you may or could experience motion sickness at some point during your cruise. Now you could go the natural remedy route and have peppermint on hand or look for food items that have ginger, or you can go with sea bands. And those are just the bracelets that you wear that are pressure points in your wrist. Some other things you can do is, one, keep yourself distracted. There's all these onboard activities, and if you can keep your mind off of the fact that you could be getting seasick, will help, because psychologically, you can make yourself sick. Maybe not in a dramatic way, but you can basically tell yourself that you're getting nauseous and feel nausea later. You should also try to get as much fresh air as possible. Don't be afraid to go out on the upper decks when you're a little nauseous. Sometimes looking at the horizon does help people. And when you're ready, you can go the medication route, over-the-counter Dramamine, or maybe even have your doctor prescribe the patches. People like my mother like the confidence they feel when they go ahead and put the patch on before they even get on board. This is something she's done her last 2 cruises because, just like most people, she was worried about getting seasick. And if that's what it's going to take for you to be able to enjoy your vacation, then by all means do that. Don't let anyone make you feel like it's stupid or silly to be worried about getting seasick. You're allowed to be worried. I told you that I was. And I'm pretty confident when I'm telling clients that they most likely won't. And that is the truth for the majority of folks that cruise. You likely will not get seasick. And if you do, it likely won't be enough that you will need to seek medical attention. If you've ever felt seasick on a cruise, tell us in the comments, what did you do to help yourself, or do you have any other tips and tricks as a seasoned cruiser? I and a lot of others would love to hear about it. Until next time, I'm Stephanie, and find magic in your everyday.